Hello there. Today I'm going to be talking about the beautiful depths of our cycles as women, the practicalities of each phase, and how we can work with our bodies instead of against them. My name is Quincy, and I make videos to encourage women to grow into their natural strength and softness, and how we can follow God amidst that journey. Thank you for being here today. As women who are striving to honor the Most High with our lives, knowing how our bodies work in a world that flows only with the 24-hour cycle, the man cycle, is very important. Not to make excuses for your behavior or avoiding good deeds of godliness, which is easy to do, but to work with the natural rhythm God set in place and submit to Him in our struggles. This is going to be a pretty loaded video. It might be kind of long, but I just love this topic and I'm so passionate about it because I've had a lot of just difficulties and I've had a lot of things that I have learned about my cycle, and so I'm sharing it with you here because I think it's really important for women to know how our bodies work, how to work with them, how to honor the Lord and respect those around us through the difficulties of our cycles, because it can be difficult. It's common to associate each of our phases as women as the seasons of the year because they just kind of are similar in the way that our bodies feel. So the menstrual phase, the first one I'm going to talk about, is associated with winter. I want you to think about how you feel in winter. You want to be cozy, you want to be warm, you probably want to do less and be with people less, and you just want to hibernate. You just want to be kind of inward almost. You don't want to be outside because it's cold. But yeah, you just want to hibernate, that vibe of just rest. I think it's really important to listen to our bodies crave, especially when it comes to our cycles. It can really help us gauge what to do when, what is too much during this phase, and if we don't work with our bodies, we're going to be exhausted, or more exhausted than necessary. We're going to be overstimulated, we're going to be overwhelmed, we probably will get sick more, and physically, which I'll get into later, we could actually hurt our bodies and damage our muscles. So I think it's just a constant reminder that we can't work against the design of God in any area of life. We have to work with it, we have to honor Him with it, and we can't use it as an excuse to get away with certain behavior. I'm sharing this because I have struggled with both the physical ramifications and the struggles of my cycle, as well as the emotional side, and that's a big leap to get over and to grow in. So I think knowing these things will really help women and just be ourselves. The menstrual phase is from the time you start bleeding to the day that you stop bleeding. And I don't like to use it's from day 1 to day 6 or whatever, because every woman's cycle is a little bit different. I think it's more practical to go by actual symptoms. So what is actually happening hormonally during this phase? At this time, all the hormones are low. Estrogen and progesterone are at their lowest, which tells the uterus that there is no pregnancy and to shed the lining, which is what the bleeding is. FSH, which stands for follicle stimulating hormone, begins to rise after menstruation and starts to trigger the beginning of the new follicle in the ovaries. Estrogen and progesterone also are a big influencer of serotonin, which affects our mood, helps us feel good. We feel vibrant and alive. And so obviously, when estrogen and progesterone are low, serotonin is low, and therefore we don't feel great. So yeah, fun. I like to think of menstruation as a sort of report card from the previous month, the way that we slept, the way that we ate, how we nourished our bodies, the stress that we went through, and that could be good or bad stress, but again, stress is still stress on the body. It just affects our bodies differently depending on what kind of stress it is, whatnot. And the report card kind of goes to show, okay, I ate this way and I'm having way worse cramps this month or whatever it is. the way that we take care of our bodies, it affects our hormones, it affects our cells, which it's cells then hormones, but it also just affects PMS in general, which stands for premenstrual syndrome, and that could include tender breasts. That often includes depression, fatigue, exhaustion, cravings, and then of course cramps. Probably the most common symptom, but yeah, that all affects that, and I can definitely attest to that. Stress is one of the biggest factors that affects that. If I would give any tip to any woman, which I have multiple times, more than food, more than sleep, which I think are extremely important, I think managing the stress in your life, minimizing it, is going to be one of the most important things that you do overall in your life. We can live with some stress, but if it's chronic, it's not good for us. I think the menstrual phase and the luteal phase are very intentional times where we need to slow down. I think that God gave this to us women as a gift, because we always feel like we need to be doing something. We always feel like we're behind. We always just like rush, get things done. That's how we get our worth, and that's not true. And so I think that the Lord gave this to us as a way to be like, just rest. You have to rest. I'm forcing you into rest. Be with me, come to me, and I will give you rest. A couple other pointers when it comes to our body, mind, and spirit is to limit really heavy exercise, no fasting or restricting food. That can be saved for the next phase. I think this is a great time to open up to the Lord, as well as starting in the luteal phase, because we're just in that state of more inward, more reflective. Food-wise, I think warm foods should be a staple during the luteal and especially the menstrual phase. Our bodies are going through a lot, and our digestive tracts we don't want to put extra pressure on our digestive tracts when our bodies are already doing so much to shed the lining, and they're low in hormones, and we're losing iron. So if our food is warm, it's much easier for our bodies to digest it. So warm foods really help the body and reduce stress in that way. And then, of course, replenishing iron, since you're losing iron through your blood, and that could be replenished by lots of red meat, seafood, kidney beans, and especially liver and organ meats. A good hydration at all times is important, but I think especially leaning into some of those warmer drinks like bone broth and tea. Some of my favorite teas include ginger, which actually suppresses the pain signal in your brain. So I use that one starting a couple days before I'm supposed to start, and I try to drink that at least once a day. And since ginger is strong, I always mix it with several other herbs like rooibos or shepherd's purse. Basil is really good. These are all great ones for the menstrual cycle and for hormones. At this phase, you're physically shedding, you're detoxing, and I think this is a great time to mentally do this as well. And another reason to go into the presence of the Lord and just being quiet with Him, spend time with Him, journal as much as you want to, voice memo if you need to. Just be in a quiet space and let the things come to your mind that need to be purged, need to be let go of, let them come, and then work it through with the Lord. I think this is the best time to do this, because our physical bodies are in the best space with our mind to release those things. Another way of detoxing that I like to utilize is castor oil packs with a heating pad. Could be for 30 to 45 minutes every day. Okay, the next phase is the follicular phase, and this is my favorite phase. This is your spring, you're starting to feel better, things are getting just lighter, and you just feel good. At least I do. For the most part, I think women do feel great in this phase. This phase is actually from the time that you start bleeding to the time you're done ovulating. It's that whole first section, if it's a circle. It's the whole first section, and then your luteal phase is the whole second section. but your menstrual and your ovulation are within the follicular phase, but there's technically 4 phases. Hormonally, what's happening in this time is there's a lot going on, and it all contributes to why we start feeling so great. FSH, the follicle stimulating hormone, is released by the pituitary gland in the brain, which stimulates the ovaries to develop multiple follicles, which are tiny fluid-filled sacs, and they each contain an egg. The LH, which is the luteinizing hormone, is also released by the pituitary to support the FSH to progress follicle growth and maturation. Estrogen is beginning to rise, which is causing a lot of different functions, which includes our moods, because serotonin is rising as well. Some of these biological functions include the new lining in the uterus beginning to thicken, cervical mucus becomes more egg whitey for sperm survival, it stimulates dopamine and serotonin to improve mood and energy, it supports collagen production, which can enhance skin quality and make us glowy, it has anabolic effects, which make it the perfect time to start weightlifting and putting more pressure on muscle performance. So there's a lot of great things happening in this phase. This is when we want to continue heavily detoxing our bodies with the castor oil packs and also teas like dandelion root. Think spring. Spring and fall are when our bodies naturally detox. And so, since this phase is like spring, it's reflective of how we need to let go. This time, we also have higher brain power. We're able to handle more stress, handle big projects. This is the time, if you're a creator, to really dig into creating and like filming and like ramping up to like ovulation, like batch content, just like really like complete like formulating and really creating those ideas. The menstrual phase is really great for like idea brainstorming, and then the luteal phase is really great for editing. So this is like your bulk time. Okay, the next phase is ovulation, which is like our summer. This is a lot of women's favorite phases. Honestly, it's not mine because I know that as soon as I ovulate, I'm going to start, like, all my hormones are going to start dropping, and I don't look forward to that. So I like the follicular phase better. Early on, like, at the very beginning, like, okay, let's go, I feel great, not the end. Ovulation it starts when progesterone jumps up, and this lasts about 24 to 36 hours. So you're actually like, the egg is only like available for that 24 to 36 hours. But we're able to get pregnant as women like 5-6 days before that, because that's how long sperm can live in the vaginal canal. So we're not able to get pregnant like throughout the entire month. And I honestly think that people say that, or I mean, that was something that it took me a long time to get over believing. Like, can I really not get pregnant the whole month? I think that people say you have a low chance because a lot of women don't track their cycles. They don't actually know what's going on in their bodies, and I think that's very important. I use a basal body temperature to track my temperature, and I think this is a great way. I mean, it's one of a couple different ways. So I honestly think that the reason they say that is because some women will take that as, oh, I can't get pregnant here, and they'll go by the days, and then they could end up getting pregnant because they don't actually know their cycle, and that's not the actual days that they're supposed to get pregnant. Like everybody says, it's always on the 14th of the month. Well, mine's sometimes on the 14th, sometimes mine's on the 16th, like ovulation. So it just like, I can see based on my temperatures. And if you decide to do that, one of my best tips, which I did not realize when I started, was to take it at the same time every day. My husband gets up at different times every day for work, and so I'm sometimes getting up at different times, sleeping on the weekends, and I used to just take it whenever I got up, and my thing was like all over the place. And I was like, what in the world? I'm so messed up. But that was not true. It's just because you have a different body temperature at different times. So if you take it at the same time every day, it will be consistent in showing you the actual like track of your hormones. So just a tip if you want to try that. Ovulation is actually the end of the follicular phase, so with FSH, the follicle stimulating hormone, a single follicle will dominate and mature, producing increasing amounts of estradiol, a form of estrogen. There are actually 4 different types of estrogen depending on where a woman is at in her phase of life. Estrogen then triggers LH, which is the luteinizing hormone, which causes the mature follicle to rupture and release the egg into the fallopian tube within the 24 to 36 hours. The ruptured follicle transforms into the corpus luteum, which is I have on the screen, and that will later produce the progesterone that would sustain an existing pregnancy. I think this is so amazing that this happens every month, and on the outside, if I didn't know these things, it would be so hard to be like, why God did you create it this way? And I don't really know like why. Some women don't have very bad symptoms, which I am so thankful that they don't. Mine have always been really bad, and they've just been starting to get slowly better over the past couple months. But I just think that the Lord works so amazingly. His design is so incredible and complex and beautiful. And the fact that we can understand what exactly is happening now and how complex it really is, I just find it so fascinating. I also wanted to say that some women can experience like cramps on their like when they're ovulating, um, and that could range from like very mild, like hardly noticeable cramps or none, up to like period like cramps. I will occasionally get some like very very lightly, um, and that's not super fun. It feels like early period cramps for me. Um, but yeah, that didn't used to happen. So mine has changed a lot over the years. So I think that's interesting that it's not like, okay, once you get your period, this is how it's gonna be for the rest of your life. It's like, nope, I'm gonna change now. So I wanted to share a fascinating fact with you guys, and I found this on Instagram, and I'll have the link in the description. But I just had to share this. During ovulation, the egg goes through a pre-selection process of what sperm cells fit the woman's body's standards. The egg sends out energetic signals to attract the right sperm, not the fastest, not the strongest, the most compatible. Scientists say that sperm doesn't fight its way in, it knocks, and the egg decides whether or not to open. It's called molecular attraction. When you think about it, this is the essence of feminine energy and power. It doesn't chase, prove, or push. It attracts, discerns, and decides, calmly, precisely, from alignment, not pressure. I remember when I first read this, I was astonished, because it was just like, it just made it that much more beautiful. And then I had a little bit of fear, like, oh my goodness, what if my husband and I aren't compatible? And I was like, that's such a silly fear because the Lord made my womb. The Lord made my husband. He brought us together. He is the one who is able to open my womb or close it. So it's not just up to nature. It's God working, and I think science describes it as you know just this is how it works, and I think it does work that way. But I think that God ordained it to be that way to accept or not accept sperm, based on his will. So I find that really interesting. A couple other really interesting facts during ovulation, which I think is like honestly the most fascinating part and phase of our cycle. One is that our face structure actually changes. Like our bones will move to become more attractive. Why they don't stay that way the whole month, I don't know. But I appreciate looking like better during ovulation. So, yeah. Your smell and your pheromones actually change to like attract a mate. And so does your taste in men. It also changes, which is really interesting. You might crave to wear bold colors like pinks and reds, just like very feminine, bold colors. And I definitely attest to that. I love wearing pink like in my follicular and ovulation phase because I just feel more girly, I feel more feminine, I want to express myself, and I think that's just really fun. That's like actually a fact that a lot of women want to dress that way. Your confidence and charisma is usually up, and you just feel good. This is a great time to utilize this confidence to do anything that you're normally scared to do, whether that's public speaking or even making a phone call that you've been dreading, have a talk or conversation with your boss, or go out on a first date. Some of my favorite drinks for this phase are hibiscus tea and peppermint tea, and then I also love making this cranberry drink. I normally use I just throw stuff in there, but I normally just use water, cranberry, maple syrup, maybe like a little pinch of Celtic salt and lemon juice. And it's just like a really nice, refreshing drink. You could probably use like coconut water too for some uh, extra minerals. I haven't tried it yet, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure how well it would mix with the lemon. So, and the last phase, which is our luteal phase or autumn, I think this is universally known as our least favorite phase as women. If you're a woman who loves her luteal phase, hit me up in the comments. I want to know what you're doing because I don't like my luteal phase, but it's what naturally happens, and so we learn to work with our bodies. This is from the day after we ovulate to the first day of our bleeding, like that whole section, which it just depends how long your whole cycle is for how long that phase is. If you're watching your temperature, this is when your temperature is going to shoot up as progesterone rises, and progesterone will stay high the whole time. The other hormones are like slowly dropping down, as you'll see in whatever side I put it on, the template, the chart. As the hormones continue to drop, which progesterone will eventually drop off too, we start feeling more sluggish, more tired, more irritable, and that's so fun. I think that this is also where the Lord gifted us a time to just naturally express our emotions in a healthy way. I'm much more inclined to be tearful and like cry more and just experience a lot more emotion. And I'm learning to not just express that wherever and whenever and however I feel inclined to, but like doing it strategically through journaling, through just prayer with the Lord, through going on a slow walk, or even then like going on a drive or something. If I'm feeling emotional and I can get away, just to like let that process happen instead of bottling it up, and then it comes out at the worst time possible and it hurts other people, and we don't want that as women of the Lord. And I would hope that if you don't know the Lord, that you wouldn't want that either. At this time, a lot of women struggle with questioning everything, questioning who they are, questioning what they're doing with their life, questioning if they're enough. We just have so many just doubts about ourselves, which honestly I think is one of the hardest parts of the luteal phase, at least for me, is just doubting myself. I think this is a great time to not isolate yourself, but to have a couple of your favorite girlfriends close, or your mom or your grandma, and just don't go out and do a bunch of stuff because that's going to be overstimulating too for most. But just to have a time to be a woman still, and bring up those things that you're struggling with, because that's what girls are for. We're here to talk. We want to talk. We want to get things out and help each other. I also tend to slow down with consumption of social media, movies, podcasts, just outside stimuli, because there's already so much happening in my brain through my hormones. I don't need the extra distraction. Sometimes I want it to distract myself, but I know that it's not good for me, and so I've attuned my body to, when I need to, I'll just shut everything off and be quiet, whether I'm on my drive home or I'm just at home doing chores. I just try to take things slower. I try to make things lighter and more cozy, and an environment that invites me to rest and not be so uptight and expectant about everything. This is a great time, at least in the earlier part of the luteal phase, to finish things up, whether that's decluttering your home or finishing up like content creation if you're a business owner, deep cleaning or meal prep, those kind of things. This is when I really like to start ramping up the teas to prepare just my body for the coming menstruation and the PMS symptoms. So this is where I start having ginger. I'll start doing like peony root and shepherd's purse, those kind of herbs that are just very calming and supportive of the female body during this time. One of the things that I see is very controversial online is the talk about like changing your training when you're like, depending on where you're at in your cycle, and like doing less. And I don't often hear people actually talk about why that's important. So I'm going to tell you why. During the luteal phase, our bodies start producing a hormone called relaxin, and that does what it sounds like. It relaxes the muscles around the joints. If a pregnancy were to be sustained, this is where the body would start loosening up and just preparing as the belly grows, as the body changes, and preparing for birth, and as like our whole entire pelvic floor needs to expand to birth a baby. Our body starts producing this hormone every single luteal phase, and so that makes it very easy to pull a muscle or multiple muscles, depending on what kind of workouts you're doing, what strenuous things you're doing. And I have learned this the hard way. Years ago when I didn't know anything about like my cycle, I knew that I bled every month or so. Like, I didn't know what was going on in my body. I worked with horses, so I would be slinging hay, I'd be lifting heavy bags of feed, I'd be working out too, and I just kept pulling muscles and being so sore. And I was like, what is happening? Why can I do this the rest of the month and I can't do it then? Well, then years later, when I actually researched why this is happening, that's why that's happening. So to prevent pulled muscles and damaging our bodies, we need to cut back on the workouts, cut back on the strenuous things that we're doing. I'm not saying you can't work out, but I would say that because it's our body's natural process, it's not very good to push yourself. And you might be able to if you're a trained athlete or whatever, but I think when something is happening in our body, I think that it's important to listen. Whether that it means you're sick and you try to keep pushing yourself, you're just going to be sicker longer. You're just going to put more strain on your system, and you might get sick again earlier than necessary or whatever. I think it's important to work with our bodies and not work against them. So I just take gentle walks. If you have like a pool or access to water, like swimming is great. It's just like more gentle movement is really important. Lots of stretching. This is great during this time. Not like overstretching, because again, if you overstretch your muscles with the hormone relaxin, you can pull muscles. So that's just a fun fact that I think is important to know. I also wanted to mention that, I don't think you're supposed to be restricted to, okay, I'm in my ovulation phase, I'm gonna work out as hard as I can, or like now I'm in my luteal phase, I'm not gonna work out at all, or I'm not gonna work out hard. I think you have to be in tune with your body, because sometimes I'm in my luteal phase and I'll just get like a sudden burst of energy and I'll just have a dance party, or I want to go for a sprint, and I'm fine. But I think that's where listening to our bodies comes in. Often when I'm ovulating, I have sometimes lower energy, and I don't have the capacity to work out. So it just depends. And I think that's where it's different for every woman. And you can't just be like, in this phase you should do these things, and this is how many days it is, because it's just not the same for every woman. So listen to your body, learn to know what your needs are, learn to prepare for each cycle. Just remember that report card, because the way that we support our cells, and our cells are built by what we eat, so eating lots of healthy fats, a lot of healthy protein, that kind of stuff. Like, that builds our cells, and our cells help produce our hormones, and our hormones obviously affect everything in our body. So like, the way that we live, just it affects our lifestyle. The way we choose, the choices that we make affect our lifestyle. I'll leave you with that. So that's all the phases, and I wanted to share a couple verses just to reflect on how amazing our Creator is, how worthy He is of our praise. Worthy are you, Lord our God, to receive glory and honor and power, for you created all things, and by your will they exist and were created. Revelation 4:11. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims His handiwork. Psalm 19:1. Our culture is persistent in motion and in rushing and in busyness. And I've talked about this in some of my other videos, and I'm sure that I will continue talking about it because it's important to me that we learn to rest and that we learn to live in the rhythms that God designed. I don't think we're meant to live, I know that we're not meant to live like a man. A man is able to do the same thing every day, every day, every day. A woman is not. Our cycle is expanded over a month. And, traditionally, a woman was home. And I'm not saying she didn't do anything. Being a woman and not having kids yet, I know that there's so much a woman does, and I can't wait to be home. But being home, whether you're working from home or you just have a beautiful family that you're taking care of, like, that space is so much more conducive than an office building or a job that you have to clock in at. Like, you don't have the flexibility and the freedom to be a woman. And like, I am in this situation, it's just so, it's not an option for a lot of women, unfortunately, in this day and age with the way that our financial system is. And I think this is where we just need to lean into the rhythm as much as we can and not get discouraged, because I think it's easy to get discouraged and be like, I just want to live this way. I just want to live slowly. I want to live in rest. I want to live in tune with my body and in nature and be able to do what I need to do when I need to do it and not be held back by a job that a man can handle. I'm not saying that it's easy for men to work. I'm just saying that that's much more conducive to their daily hormone cycles, if you can call it a cycle. But I think this is where we just trust the Lord, and He has our best in mind. And it's not easy. It's not easy being male or female. But in this day and age, we just have to lean on Him. So I'd encourage you to do that today. I actually have created a luteal phase reset guide that you can find in the description below. This is something that you can just take an hour or an afternoon, a couple hours, however long it takes, to just get those thoughts out and work through some of those things that your mind is stuck on, and come before the Lord and just rest. This is something you can do month after month, come back to again and again, or it can just be like a one-time thing and see how you like it. I mean, it's free, so I made it for you because I find it very important to have a specific time where, like, I shift into that. Okay, I'm resting now. I'm coming into my luteal phase, my menstrual phase. I'm not going to keep rushing. I'm going to take this time to breathe and to work through my emotions in a healthy way. So I really hope that you enjoy that, and I hope that you loved this video. And if you got anything out of it, I'd love to hear about what impacted you the most in the comments below. And please subscribe and like this video. Thank you so much for being here. Have a blessed day.